Right, welcome back. We just had to remind ourselves what episode number this is, but
What was it?
episode 4.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back, and we've mixed up with a guest today. We've still got a I've just been sent an email about my prescription. Sorry.
I'll take over. So we've just been sent. Why have I just said that? Actually, we're going for a footballer again. We've got another footballer on, but this time it's slightly different. Our footballer on today's show is a bit more of a social media presence.
Yeah, I've
presence.
got a funny text message. Just for context, I've had to order tablets, but I've had to have them grinded into a liquid because I can't swallow tablets, and their response is, "Hi Billy, please note this is the last time liquid antibiotics will be prescribed for you as an adult." So they're basically just calling me a baby.
That's
a bit mean.
That is your problem.
That's a bit mean.
That is your problem.
Anyway, social media.
Social media. So he's a big social media presence, and there's something coming in the future that we talk to him about. Of course, you know a bit more about it than I, but you've got to keep it under wraps.
I've got,
You signed an NDA form, whatever they're called.
No.
No. No, we're not that. We wish we had got to sign that stuff. Maybe at some point we might have, when we get a guest on. But, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of stuff to talk about playing at Chelsea as a lower league footballer. There's filming with Premier League stars as a social media influencer and as a professional.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Obviously, there's no point doing who is it? Because you can see by the title.
Yeah, I've seen my title.
So,
yeah. Without further ado, here's Melvin Minter. Kicking off, just want to think back all the way when football started, where was the first place you remember playing football, the first team you remember playing football growing up in Tottenham?
Yeah, growing up in Tottenham, first time I played football was like when I was the age of 6 or 7 years of age, and it was my grandmother that took me to like a organised type of footballing environment. She took me to like an after school club, and I just remember that she just said to me that I was always playing football in the house. Like my mum was also saying the same thing, but it was my grandmother that took me after school, and it was a sports centre. The sports centre is actually still there, so we've got the Tottenham Stadium. Before it used to be called White Hart Lane, now it's obviously the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and there's a sports centre literally opposite where the stadium is. So that's where I went to like primary school, opposite the stadium, and then the sports centre was literally like 100 yards on the same high road. So yeah, that's my first footballing memory.
So growing up around Tottenham, it's very, we understand from talking to a lot of people growing up in North London especially, it's very difficult, it's very hard, and you want to keep grounded with your sport. How crucial was it for someone like your grandmother to show you into a sport and get you into something, that's regular?
Yeah, it was good. It was encouraging. She liked football herself and stuff, and she just noticed that was something that I enjoyed and something that I did very regularly. So for her to actually encourage me, and back in the day, like when I was young as well, like most kids were like playing out, or most kids were either at home. So like for me, I was at home at that time because I was still quite young, but yeah, I was just playing football like in and around the house and stuff, and grandma was picking me up after school and stuff, and then my mum was getting me after work and stuff. But yeah, it wasn't easy, but yeah, there was like opportunity there for me to do something that I enjoyed, and I just started to pursue it from there.
I've seen on YouTube, I'm a big fan of Melvin's story on Rising Ballers, but it's very eye-opening to see how dedicated you are, and it's kind of the same for a lot of young people trying to get into football and try and keep it, because not all opportunities are there. It's hard. There's a lot of doors that are closed in your face. How difficult is it, and how good is it to be able to document that? Because it's got over 100,000 views on each video.
Yeah. That was a period of time where I was trying my hardest to like really gain the opportunity and stuff, and like I recognise from very young as a goalkeeper, like you're either playing or you don't play. So like opportunities are tough as it is anyways, isn't it? So I got given opportunity to be a part of a big platform, Rising Ballers at the time and stuff, and they just documented my journey and all that exposure and just putting me out there like led to so many different opportunities and stuff. And I've always been someone that gives 120%. I can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, if that makes sense. So like being dedicated to my craft, like being all in and stuff, like that enables me to tell myself that like, yo, if this doesn't work, I can at least put my hand on my heart and say that I gave it my best and this is where it happened. Like, and um, although I did have a small opportunity and I did fulfill a little bit of my dream for a couple of years, like it was a good type of feeling because it's like at the end of the day, like the hard work you've been putting in for years, the unseen work that no one sees, kind of paid off. So like, yeah, like you need to be dedicated to your craft, and then like also with opportunities as well. Sometimes things go your way, sometimes things don't go your way. That's just part of life. Whether you play football or whether you're a school teacher or whether you're something else in any walk of life, like you're always gonna get rejection. It's just how you bounce back. So yeah.
And when did you realise it was goalkeeping that you wanted to be? Because obviously, like you're the first goalkeeper we've had on the podcast, and I think a lot of people would agree. Me certainly, I think goalkeeper is probably it's the hardest position to.
There's only one.
Yeah, there's only one. It's the hardest position to play. It's the hardest position to get a contract, to get a start with. When the goalkeeping start for you?
Actually, from what I remember, it was that first session that my grandmother took me to, and I remember, um, I just used to get a buzz of like keeping the ball out of the net or catching the ball and stuff. So like, I just remember going to my first ever session, like, and I just went in goal, and it's weird because I was always, obviously as a modern day goalkeeper now, you have to be comfortable with the ball at your feet. That's a massive requirement. But I was always in the playground and stuff in my younger ages, like playing outfield, like working on my feet, not knowing that further down the line I would actually have to use that and it'll be beneficial for me. But like I always said to myself, like I want to be a goalkeeper. I want to keep the ball out of the net. And also like for me as well, like I had that leadership, I had that leadership dynamic instilled in me. So like as a goalkeeper, you can kind of see the whole game. Like you've got to instruct your defenders, you've got to put players in place, and that's going to help prevent goals. So the communication side of the spectrum was something that I saw, and I was able to just work on like just organizing my team and stuff and leading from the back. And that's kind of the things that I remember from young that I kind of like that led me to want to be a goalkeeper, because there's a lot of kids, they might start outfield and then they end up in goal. Some might play in goal and end up outfield. So I started in goal, ended up in goal, but I'm still playing outfield in between, if that makes sense.
So dedication and consistency is two things that come hand in hand with your development since you've come up as a young lad. Talking about Oxford, that's another opportunity where dedication and opportunities led you to getting a contract, I believe.
Yeah. So I wasn't at any academy up until the age of 16 when I was doing my GCSEs, leaving school. I remember I tried for like loads of different academies and stuff, wasn't successful, and then Oxford United gave me an opportunity when I left school, saying that they had a youth team, and what it was they were going to give me an extended schoolboy contract. So I'll be living up there for a year. So I actually moved away from home and lived in Diggs, which was with another family in Oxford, and I'll be playing with the youth team on the under-17s. And if I had done more at the end of that season, then I would have got a 2-year scholarship after that. So I was signed for them, lived up there. I remember commuted back and forth from home like every other week and stuff. Played for the youth team a lot. I thought I actually done all right, but just rubber the green, didn't get offered a scholarship. Another goalkeeper in my age group got offered it over me. So like, it's part of life, part of football, and yeah, I just had to move on. But that was a good experience for me because it's the first time I've been in an academy. So like I was literally training every single day and getting used to that environment. And then also it was the first time I lived away from home as well. So like obviously I've grown up in London my whole life, and then I have to go and move to Oxford, which is probably about 2 hours away. I can't remember how long it was on the train and stuff, but like it accelerated my development of having to be more independent and having to grow up quickly, if that makes sense, innit? So yeah.
Well, that's something we've learned. So with Mandela Egba, he went abroad. It was one of his first big moves was abroad. It's Germany, yeah. So it's not just you're developing as a footballer. You also having to. Not many people realise how fast the development has to be, like in personal life, growing up, being independent, mature. Like, what do you have to do over there? Do you have to do your own shopping? Do you have to learn how to make toast? That's something I still don't know how to make toast properly. Is this sort of things that you don't really think about when you're moving away?
Yeah, I think also like obviously I don't know that Mandela Egba. I know people that know him and stuff, but I think also like what helped me in that period was I had a few friends at the time that I'd grown up with that also got signed at Oxford as well. So like a lot of us all moved together, and like being in a new environment with people that you know kind of helps the dynamic, if that makes sense. If you're moving to a whole different environment and you're on your own, like it can be tough, and that's when it's down to like you, it's like sink or swim type of thing. So like I say, like being around people that I knew at the time helped me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And what was it like? Because I'm speaking about Mandela Egbo, because he moved to Germany, and I think he lived alone. He had parents coming out quite a lot, but he lived alone at like 17. But you were living with a family. How was that kind of at 16, 17, just finished school? You've just gone and lived with another family.
Mad, I'm not gonna lie. Like I remember, I think I got kicked out of my first two digs, and then I had one more chance. It was mad because like I got kicked out of my first two digs, and then Oxford had a meeting with my mum, and they were gonna send me back to London, and they were gonna release me. And this was like, this was maybe like 3 or 4 months into my time at the club, and I was performing well on the pitch, but it was off the pitch that like what my problem was after training, I'll come back to digs, play FIFA, and I'm making the loudest of noises. I'm screaming the house down and stuff like. And these times, like I wasn't self-aware. I was still young and stuff. So, and I'm living this with somebody else. So like I was kind of disrespecting their home, if that makes sense. I wasn't being mindful of my presence in someone else's home. So like I just remember I just used to play FIFA, and I used to be very emotional over the game. And when my friend was beating me, or if I was inviting my other teammates around and they'll beat me, I was screaming the house down, throwing away the controllers and stuff. So that was my issue in the first two digs. And then I realized that like, like this opportunity might never ever come again. And I may be sent back to London. So like luckily I got given an opportunity to be with another family, and they took me in and stuff. But like, yeah, that was the first time I've been with another family and having to live with them. They cooked for me, they looked after me. I have nothing bad to ever say. Like it was just an eye opener to like this is what life is like, if that makes sense, innit?
It's a learning curve, I suppose, because I think at a young age you're not really aware of, as you said, self-aware. You're not very, conscious to what's going on around you. And I think at that moment you kind of, maybe once you get into an academy, I was never good enough to get an academy. I never went for a trial anywhere, unfortunately. But I feel like if I was, maybe there would have been some self-confidence. I would have, had a bit of an ego boost. Do you feel like you're confident, or you're ever too confident when you're in the academy?
It is football's an interesting one, because I think confidence on a fundamental basis is needed. Whatever position you play, whether I'm a striker, midfielder, defender, or goalkeeper, you need to have confidence. You need to also you need to also instill confidence in your teammates and have that trust. So I think there's a borderline of confidence, but not arrogance. So like it's hard to explain how you measure that, but like you need to believe in yourself. You need to believe in your teammates. You need to believe that ultimately you're going to win a football match, because ultimately football's results driven. But at the same time, like that's where complacency and arrogance can kick in. Like you can be playing for a team that you win 3 or 4 or 5 in a row, and then you just think the next game you don't have to work as hard, and you can go in and win. And that's when you get humbled, or you get shocked in a type of game. So like I say, football should be confidence, but not too much arrogance. Like you can't get too excited when things go your way, and you can't get too down when things don't go your way. That's a saying that somebody said to me ages ago. You just got to be level headed regardless. So yeah.
I think arrogance is something that we've seen before. We went to watch Leyton Orient, Cheltenham, and there were some really good players on the pitch, but I actually believe some of the players may have got released at the end of that season. Yeah. Arrogance is...
Is this the first team game you're talking about?
This is youth football. And, we're watching the game and you're thinking, some of these players are really good.
Yeah.
And then you see now they've been released, and maybe you have to question, is arrogance what you need maybe sometimes? Because as much as it is a team game at youth football, you're all fighting for a contract, aren't you?
It's an interesting one. I think it's weird, because maybe it might be just this country that looks at arrogance in a negative way, and maybe if you play overseas and you have that type of swagger and arrogance. Because when I think about players like Ibrahimovic, or I'm just trying to think of like loud, boastful players like maybe like Luis Suarez, like I would say that they're very arrogant, they're very boastful, but they've had successful careers. So it might be just a thing of the culture in this country is you need to be more humble. But I don't personally think arrogance is a bad thing. I think if you're arrogant, you have to back it up. if you're arrogant and you don't back it up, then like you don't earn any type of credibility from anybody. But if you're arrogant and you back it up, like, and you have ego, me personally, I have nothing to say because you always back up the talk. Ronaldo's another one. Like, I don't. Obviously, we don't know these players. We're just looking at them from the outside in. We don't know them personally, but like, we'll say that these type of players are very arrogant and very boastful. It's all about them. But at the end of the day, they produce, and that's the reason why they've had successful careers. So maybe arrogance is a good thing. Like, I just think maybe just the culture in the UK might just look at that sort of dynamic, and the perception might be different. So yeah.
And then life. So after Oxford, you ended up getting released. What kind of, obviously we see loads of stories now, players getting released and they just spiral downwards and whatnot, or you see a player get released and it actually pushes them up. What was your mindset when Oxford said, listen, like, we're not keeping you back on?
Yeah, that was tough because in that age group that we had, only 2 players moved on. One of them was a goalkeeper, one of them was a defender. Only 2 of them got scholarships and stayed on, and then all of us got released. So it was tough. At the time, my mentality was like, it was probably the first time in my life I probably had like a heartbreak in terms of externally being given news that something wasn't going to work out. But I think that heartbreak only lasted me less than a day, and I realized that this football is based on opinions, and like, I might go to a club, they might not rate me, but I might go to a better club and they rate me. So like, I looked at that and said to myself, like, yo, I've been in a full-time environment for a year. I remember I trained with the first team, like, here and there and stuff when they needed an extra goalkeeper and stuff. Like, this is something that I want to do potentially for a very long time. So like, for me to have that taste of that, I needed to put in stupid amount of work. And I just remember that when I got released and I came back to London, I just started just grafting. I didn't give myself no time off, no time to dwell, just went grafting, and yeah, just literally just quickly moved on from that dynamic.
I mean, I remember I literally just searched out really quickly. Obviously, as a Liverpool fan, Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's just launched that new program, the After Academy initiative. Kind of, how important do you think something like that is for players who, obviously, your mindset kind of, you were able to cope with it and you were able to smash it out, but obviously other players can't cope with that. Whether, obviously just different. Everyone's different. How important do you think something like this is for nowadays?
It's very important because, like, funny enough, I've seen Trent's thing. I think that came out last week. I see another thing of Jack Grealish reaching out to a young lad as well.
Yeah.
Well, like, I think all of these things and the aftercare is very important. Like, there needs to be more protocols from the top down, like the FA, and also like players building their own platforms and stuff where players are looked after. Because maybe for me, fortunately for me, my mentality was strong and I was able to deal with it. I had thick skin. But for somebody else, I recognize that everyone's different. Somebody might place their whole life on football. Somebody might attach their football ability to their personal sort of internal self. And it's like, if things don't go well, then they suffer mentally. But if things go well, then they thrive. So like, for me, like, I'm not attached internally to football, although I recognize that football is very important. It's not the be all and end all, because there's more to life than football, but somebody else doesn't. And I think that aftercare and stuff, there needs to be like programs, there needs to be, so I don't know what the full answers are, but these type of things are helping. Obviously with Trent starting things like that and creating a platform, like, it will encourage other people to create platforms where like boys can be looked after and they can realize that there's more to life than football. Or you come out of an environment, you work on your mentality, and then you go back into football like when you're much more stronger mentally. So yeah, I think that's very important.
Talking of platforms, I think that's something we also want to talk about, finding a life away from football but still involved with football. You're moving slightly more into the social media side of things. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so it's interesting because only a year ago I'd been let go at Chesterfield Football Club, and it was a decent time. I didn't play as much as I wanted, and we had a lot of like crazy experiences. We played at Chelsea in the FA Cup. We lost 5-1, but Chelsea was always the team that I'd grown up like supporting, and I still support them to this day. And I remember I was on the bench there at Stamford Bridge, and I realised that like football's very, very tough. And as I'm getting older, I need to try and still place myself and be within football in terms of a plan B, but doing something that I enjoy. And I recognize that I've got like a decent following in terms of a platform that I built over the last like maybe 4 or 5 years in terms of digitally. And I thought to myself, like, how can I use like the platform that I have, the players that I know, the people that I know, and build from something. And I realized that at my previous time at Soccer AM a few years back, like I faced like pros, ex-pros, influencers, like celebrities and stuff. And I thought to myself, like, why not build? There's not really goalkeeping figures out there that have their own platforms other than like a Ben Foster or maybe Big G at SE Dons. Like they have their own platforms where they come up against like different players and stuff. So I thought to myself, like, I'm regularly filming, shooting, doing stuff with brands where I'm in goal and I'm competing with another player. Why not build my own platform where it's I'm in goal, but I'm also hosting it and I get players that I know and celebrities, influencers, different sort of categories of people that I know onto the show and compete against them and just the branch out from there. And yeah, I've started obviously with Billy as well, like behind the scenes working on it. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to it because I'm actually enjoying it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because like, yeah, I mean, I think we've done 2 episodes now. We filmed 2 episodes, and like I've realised that like yeah, you've put a lot of thought behind this as well. It's not just let's go meet up at whatever time, bring a couple cameras, and we'll see what we go. Like we've got scripts written out, we've got cameras written down, there's a lot of planning that's gone behind something that obviously is very brand new as well. So like I'm really looking forward to it. Like whenever the episodes start coming out, I'm really hopeful like they'll do well. Because I remember when we were planning it like back last year, we were talking about like obviously from Soccer AM they've got that Jimmy Bullard, you know the drill, and I think it's very built upon that, but also you've kind of got your own style of it as well. Because like you are a very big figure in goal. You're loud. Like it makes a good laugh, especially when you mix in the right players. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, what I realized is it's what I realized for myself is when I'm shooting. So, say for example, when I'm with Soccer AM or I go and shoot with like a Nike or Puma or whatever, like I'm just a goalkeeper and I'm just competing with opposition player or opposition players, and it's hard because sometimes like if I try hard and I'm saving shots and stuff, I'm being told behind the scenes like don't go too hard or like let this player score and stuff. So like I look at it and think to myself, I'm conflicted because I'm letting you score and I know I can save that shot or I can give myself a chance of saving a shot. But when it's uploaded on the internet and everyone else sees it, they see like the end product, the final edit. They don't see all the saves and stuff that I've made, and that doesn't make the final cut. And then when I look at the comments and I'm getting battered in the comments, it's almost heartbreaking. So I thought to myself, why not create my own platform where I get players to come and compete against me, and then there's you versus me, and we see who comes out on top type of thing, innit? So like, yeah, like I think we started planning this maybe last year, September, October, and we're still like we're only 2 episodes in. We'll probably film about 8 to 10 episodes, put that as a season, and then start putting that out there and really think about how we're gonna market it, how we're gonna push it and stuff. So like everything's got to be like, for me, like I said at the beginning of the conversation, like I like to be all in. I like to do things like properly. I'm not gonna do things like half-heartedly or do things for the sake of it. Like I think that once things are done properly and there's a standard to it, and then also another key thing is getting on players that have sort of a relationship with each other or camaraderie, like where they know each other. That's going to bring the best out of each other. There's going to be a bit of banter. Like I'm playing against my mate. I don't want to lose against my mate in front of cameras and stuff. So like, I think that's also important as well. So like, as we're planning it and stuff, yeah, looking forward to shooting more episodes. We've got some more lined up and stuff in terms of shooting it. And then also when the final edits come out, like it'll be interesting to see like how things develop. So yeah, looking forward to it, man.
100%. I've never really thought about it like that because I think it was Chris MD who who did a video recently where he goes through every keeper, he goes through every league.
Well, I sent that. I sent that to you, and I was like, that'd be a great idea.
Really good idea.
Sick video.
Yeah.
That's a sick video.
Yeah.
Whenever he gets to like League Two, I think it's Lawrence Figueroa that he comes up against. I think he's I don't know. It must have been first. It seemed like it was his first shot that he conceded.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, there's no way he's scoring against a League Two keeper first time from a free kick.
Yeah,
Like, there's got to be.
And I'm not gonna lie, the shots look very far as well. Like,
Yeah.
Probably like 30 yards, but they probably had like maybe 50 takes, and then like one of them he lets it go in or something along them lines, in it. But it's a good video. I'm not gonna knock it anyways.
Yeah.
Because I remember I sent it to you, and I was like, this would be a great idea if we have you're in goal for all of them, but instead of changing the keepers, we change the players.
We'll be the first level.
Yeah, exactly. Like literally, like we could start and be the first level, and then you could build it up like all the way up to like, you know, Eddie and Nketiah at Arsenal and stuff. But I wanted to. You mentioned Rising Ballers earlier. That was kind of, if I'm correct, that was probably the first time that you were kind of portrayed on the world of social media as, you know, Melvin Minter, like the goalkeeper. How did that come about? Because they were one of like the big names on Instagram, and you know, their own grassroots team and so forth.
Yeah, that came about 4 or 5 years ago when a mate of mine, he was a part of Rising Ballers in the beginning. He's no longer a part of them now. Alfie Kane, he played with me at a non-league team called Harrow Borough, and this was before Rising Ballers started. And he said to me that there's a platform being created, Rising Ballers, and they're trying to just what Rising Ballers were doing before they gave like players like me that were playing in non-league opportunities. All they were doing was like getting like young superstars around the world, wonder kids, and then posting them on social media and stuff, and that's how the platform grew. And then they decided to take another route of like giving unsigned players like exposure and stuff. So Alfie approached me and said to me, there's a platform, Rising Ballers, being created. They're trying to give unsigned talent opportunity and stuff. Like, would I be interested? And I'm not gonna lie, at first I said no, because I didn't see any examples out there doing that, if that makes sense. I saw like SE Dons were around the time. I'm trying to think who else was around. I think Under the Radar were around, but they had different directions and different trajectories. Rising Ballers, this was something new. I didn't see anyone else doing this, so I wasn't quite sure at the time. I didn't have a digital presence myself, so I remember that the first game was against Beatties. They asked me to play. I said no initially, and then I turned back around like a week later and said that I can play. I just thought, let me just give it a go and see like what happens, what comes out of this. Played the game, it was actually sick. We beat Beatties in the first ever game that we played, and then from there it just took off. Like things just took off, and then like what happened was like released players from football clubs, like academies was coming in, and then we started playing against different teams and stuff, and then from there like the trajectory went upwards. And then when we started seeing, like, I can't remember who was the first player within the group that got signed to a pro club, but once that happened, we all thought that, wow, like there's an opportunity for boys here like ourselves to get signed and stuff, and we all started pushing each other, and from there like player after player after player was getting signed and stuff, and then like social media grew, social media following grew, and just crazy opportunities came out from that. That's how Soccer AM came out. So yeah.
Well, there's so many different ways to like go about it. You mentioned SE Dons. I remember one of the first ones I watched, Palmer's FC.
Yeah,
if you ever heard of them, they were like the originals. And then SE Dons took on Under the Radar. You got Beatties. Then you got different ways to go about, like Bunch of Amateurs, for example.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to film and bring like social media platforms into football. And I think your goalkeeper thing, something that from me watching free kick videos, 100 best goals, all that palaver, like a goalkeeper one, something that we haven't had yet, and I think it's something that, you know, the social media world's going to like gobble up, really.
Yeah, 100%.
Soccer AM, you mentioned Chelsea. You didn't get a chance to perform against Premier League talent, but Dimitar Berbatov couldn't score past you for a while.
I had Dimitar Berbatov. I had trying to think of the ex-Prem players. I had Glenn Murray, Wayne Bridge, Jermaine Pennant, just to name a few. There's quite a lot. Conor Cody as well. He's obviously still playing now, but yeah, there's quite a lot that I came up against, and I just saw that as an opportunity for me to just showcase myself. This is on live TV. This is on, like, obviously it gets posted on social media afterwards. And I remember growing up as a kid in primary school watching Soccer AM on the TV. So like actually being on the show, like talking to Fenners, Bullard, Tubes, all the guys behind the scenes, the team and stuff. Like, it was surreal. Like, and every time I went there, it was just like, wow, like I'm actually here type of thing, innit? So yeah, the Soccer AM is a sick platform opportunity and stuff. It's a shame that I see Fenner's announced yesterday on Instagram that it's coming to an end, and it's been rumored there for quite a while and stuff. But yeah, it is coming to an end after a very long time. But yeah, being on the show and stuff, being on the platform was unbelievable. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm pretty sure it's ended, but it means there's a market for Saturday morning football shows. So you never know. You just delve in there, maybe make your own one day. I want to quickly go on back to Rise Ballers. I've just remembered you were talking about obviously players who have gone on to sign pro, but I reckon probably the one who's gone to be most successful right now is Iliman Ndiaye, who's obviously just got back from playing for Senegal at the World Cup. Like it's crazy how he's gone from rising ballers all the way up to the round of 16 against England.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, Iliman was a talent, man. Iliman lived in Tottenham like me as well, like close to me as well. And he came in like a bit more of my time into Rising Ballers. And when he came in, like you could just tell instantly, like very talented. But the thing that struck with me, like it wasn't just the talent, he was dedicated as well in terms of his craft. And then also his mentality was top notch for a young kid at the time. So like he just like came in, done his thing, ripped it up and stuff. And then like he obviously had clubs and stuff like on his radar. And I think he had a lot of clubs at the time, but Sheffield United, I can't remember at the time when he signed for them, whether they were in the Prem or whether they were in the Championship. I think they were in the Prem at that time. He just looked at it and said that, yeah, this will be the best sort of pathway for me to go and play first team. And yeah, it's crazy because he in his first season, he'd done his first season there in the 23s now, yeah. And he was looking to leave because I think he saw a lot of boys, or some boys in the 23s getting promoted. And I remember I'd done a shoot with him and Jaden Clark with Sports Direct, and he was saying to like me, Jamie and stuff, like, I'm looking to go back to France. I want to leave. Like, I ain't getting any opportunities and stuff. So like, I remember like he was looking to leave at the time, and I think he had gone on loan to a non-league team. I think I can't remember what team it was. It must have been step 2 or step 3 team, but he was looking to leave. And then after that, I don't know what happened, but I spoke to him further down the line. But at the time, he was looking to leave. After that, he's obviously gone back into the 23s, ripped it up. First team, ripped it up, and he's been a star, man. He's been probably top 3 players in the Championship this season. And I'm not surprised that he's gone on to do what he's done. Like, obviously, it surprises me because it's in a short space of time. Like, it was only 3 years ago. He was playing on a Sunday at Rising Ballers or whatever it was 3 or 4 years ago. But like, to see what he's done in a short space of time, like, it's like, wow, like it shows that like you put your mind and your heart into something, like anything's type of possible. So nah, kudos to him, man. He deserves it. And yeah, looking forward to seeing him playing in the Premier League next season.
100%.
Well, I think that kind of shows that that's what we want to see as people we're going to be in the media, but you also want to see footballers using social media a bit more, don't you? Like, it's something that we can't avoid. Like, I'm still learning how to use some of the apps and stuff, but it's got to be a part of our lives. And Trent Alexander-Arnold was an example. I've seen stuff on BBC about lower league footballers and football league footballers trying to help out with mental health problems, being released from academies. I think we've got to see more footballers, using their platforms for more than just posting about, won 10-0, scored all 10.
Yeah.
So it's something we've got to see. I think hopefully see it a bit often.
No, I reckon we'll, because I mean, like 15 years ago, like 15 years ago, like Mel, you couldn't say I'm going to stop playing now. I'm going to go into the world of social media. But obviously now obviously it's still obviously really hard. You got to work towards it, but it's so much that you've got so much more opportunity to go and say, yeah, this is what I'm going to do now. So like obviously you see all the stories about social media having a negative impact, which is 100% that definitely needs to be focused on. But the positives that it brings so many people, including football, like it's mental. It's mental.
I think like maybe in this country we still are a little bit behind in terms of like footballers and putting them in a box. I do think that footballers are always seen as footballers and they're not allowed to do anything else. Like it reminds me of when Pogba was at Man United and like he was doing other stuff on social media other than playing football, and people will be like, oh, if he doesn't perform well, he's not focused and stuff. Like I said before, like there is more to life than football. Like you got to remember, football is only a 15-year career if you're lucky, or 10 years at best. So like there's so like the internet's kind of like with the internet now, there's so much opportunities now. I could be an engineer, I could be a DJ, I could be an influencer, I could be a comedian, like, and make a career out of that and actually make real money. So like I think with the internet now, like there's no gatekeepers, there's no one saying that you're good enough, you're not good enough. If you're good enough, you will break through and gain an opportunity. And with football and stuff, like I think football's still behind in terms of putting footballers into a box and they're only allowed to play football and they're not allowed to do anything else. So I think once that develops and you're seeing stuff like, I saw stuff like KSI and that went into Arsenal and they done that shoot with like Nketiah and Trossard and stuff. When we see more and more things like that, where footballers are being allowed to branch out and film and do like more fun things, then I think that's when the dynamic of football will change and it will enable like footballers to do like more than just play football, like enjoy themselves a bit more, if that makes sense.
Never. We've only got a couple minutes left on the Zoom, so I think we'll wrap up before we get knocked off. But yeah, no, that's all for me. Thank you very much, and I'm very looking forward to this Minter Madness thing. I think it will be. I'm secretly hopeful it's going to be taking YouTube by storm.
I'm so there for it.
I think
I've got like a 3-year plan, 3 to 5 year plan. Like the first couple of years, like YouTube is saturated as it is, but where this is going to be a niche and it's going to be something different, like hopefully like it inspires kids to be goalkeepers. It brings up a different type of perception out of myself in terms of like competing against players on a different scale and making it a bit more intense, and it brings a bit of entertainment to people watching as well. So
which is nice and different because if you know you're on TV as a footballer or you're being filmed, you've got to be professional. You're not able to show yourself as like a personality. Like sometimes I know when you go to, I support a lower league football club, so when I go you get to see the personality a bit more of the footballers, like when they're shouting at each other or if they're having a little bargy, you can see it all. Whereas now on social media you can have a pro on and people are able to see. I think that's something that I watch as a fan. Like when Chris and Dee had people on, for example, it's just nice to see them having a laugh instead of being like robots that eat like like gods and play like fucking gods for 90 minutes. So,
in order for you to like really follow someone or try and buy into someone, like you need to know what their character's like a bit more. Like you need to know what their personality is, and like when you can kind of tap into that, that's when it enables you to like be more levitated to that person, isn't it? So yeah, man, it's an interesting one, but at the same time, like there's an opportunity out there. I think there's a gap in the market for that to be exploited in. So yeah, like I'm just looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Wonderful.